in an exotic car? Yeah. Pretty cool, huh? So do you play like Gran Turismo and Need for Speed and stuff like that? Or?
Yeah, I have a Need for Speed game for my PS2.
Yeah, that's cool. So this car has got a 1.8 liter Toyota engine in it. Factory, it's got 190 horsepower at the crank, which is about 162 or so, or 163 at the rear wheels. The car doesn't weigh much, so it's one of those things that, you know, not weighing much, the power doesn't have to be super, you know, really over the top to get it to go fast. So factory, this car will do 0 to 60 in about, you know, 4.8 seconds or so, 4.9 seconds, just under 5. I've got cams in this which increase the power, so I'm dynoed out, which means that they measure the horsepower at the rear wheels at 194 horsepower, which is about 220 at the crank. So this car does 0 to 60 in exactly 4.5 seconds. So this is just as quick as a Corvette, just as quick as a lot of Porsche 911s, you know, quicker than Mustang GTs. So even though they have much bigger engines than this car accelerates just as quickly. The big thing is that this car, I've got what's on a coil-over suspension. So I've got the shock, and a way to fine-tune shocks is you put the spring on the outside of the shock body, and it provides a greater feedback in the suspension. It provides better handling characteristics. I've got a full coil-over suspension on this car, so as it relates to handling, it will sustain more than 1 G of acceleration on your body. So are you familiar with like G-force and stuff?
Yeah.
Yep, so it sustains 1 G, so 1 times your own body weight on yourself through the corners before the tires start to slide, which is an awful lot. Actually, it sustains a little bit more than that. It sustains about 1.2 or 1.3. That's an awful lot for a car, given the, you know, the amount of rubber and given how they handle and, you know, little things like that to get the car to go quick. Now, as you can see, you know, we just did a little S there. There's not a lot of body roll. You can feel your body moving back and forth because that's, you know, just, you know, gravity moving forward. But the car itself doesn't tilt one way or the other. So if you're in, was that your dad's Jeep?
Yeah.
I'm sure when you go around corners, you can feel it load to one side and the whole body tilts. This car doesn't do that at all. And I'll show that when we stop again. You try to push on the body, get it to move. You'll see the tires flex a little bit, but other than that, this car does not tilt left or right. Makes it an awful lot of fun on the racetrack. Deb, you know, I'm an instructor for the Ferrari Club of America. We're probably going to get pulled over for no front plate. So I'm an instructor for the Ferrari Club of America. What I do there is I work with a Ferrari driving experience. So what I'm able to do is folks pay us to come out and drive a Ferrari 360. We have 2 different Ferrari 360s. What we do is, you know, we drive those cars at speed on an autocross course, which is where we set up cones in a parking lot. And with those cones, we're able to really find like the cornering limits of the cars in a confined space, because we're getting up to 60 miles an hour in a little parking lot. So when you load the car in a, you know, laterally or whatever, folks still like, wow, you know, this is great. They get to feel those G-forces, they get to feel the acceleration without having to go out and buy a Ferrari, without having to pay to get out on the big track with it. So it's something that we do for fun. Aside from that, I also instruct with the regular Ferrari club, where we're out on the big tracks, and I'm teaching guys with 458 Italias and 430s and 360s and, you know, Maranellos or whatever, how to drive their cars at speed. So I've been racing for more than 17 years, so long time doing that. Raced at Daytona. I've raced, you know, the road course there. You ever hear the 24 Hours of Daytona, the endurance race?
No, I don't really follow NASCAR.
No, I don't. It's not NASCAR.
Oh.
It's sports car racing. So you'll see it this February or January, at the end of January. It's called the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, and it's a 24-hour endurance race. We race Ferraris, we race Porsches, we race BMWs, other prototype cars as they're called. We race them for 24 hours straight, from 3 in the afternoon until 3 in the afternoon the next day without stopping the race. It's a long, long day. But you know, I do that. I do other sports car racing events and stuff. I do time trials with this car on a racetrack. So, but no, this car is an awful lot of fun. And again, you can feel the car as it loads. There's not a lot of body roll. You can hear the exhaust every time I shift. You hear it pop. That's the cams, the performance piece of the cams themselves make the exhaust pop every time you upshift or downshift. like this cold air. So do you want to do a quick 0 to 60 sprint up the street here?
Sure.
Miles an hour. Doesn't feel like it because it doesn't push you into the seat, but that's how quick. That's the lightweight and the suspension. The suspension doesn't squat, so the car just goes, and that was 60 miles an hour. That's about 4.5 seconds. Pretty cool, huh? So the car, I don't know if you heard it, but the car, when it takes off, it's got a 2-stage cam. They're aftermarket cams. So what happens is the cam has its regular power, its power curve or torque curve through the mid-range, and it gets up to about 6,400 RPM, and then the profile on the cam changes due to the valve timing, and you hear it. The exhaust kind of got louder there. It went, that's that secondary profile of the cam, and that's when it really starts putting a lot more power down. It's almost like a turbo, but it's not using forced air to get that extra power. It's just the way that they built the cams.